Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be looking at a very controversial topic. It's also going to be some kind of like a moment of realization, right, for a lot of professionals within the tech space, the core tech space. Whether you're a developer, you're a programmer, you're doing cloud, even as a data analyst, right? Or anything that requires you putting in your passion, your grit, and all of that, right, into some good work, right? So it's more or less about AI, right? My own experience of that when it became quite prevalent, and I think that was roughly around say a few years back, right? Last year, we were able to get all of the whole vibe, the whole hype, right, behind what AI can really do, right? I mean, for a lot of people, we all started off with text generation, being able to generate some meaningful text, right? Quote unquote, they say all of this works, as per relevance, proximity, and various other techniques, right? Just for your models to come up with words that make sense, right? And we've seen it over time, right? That these models have become very accurate, right, and highly predictable, right, or let me say highly dependable. Um, for a lot of us, I still see this notion that a lot of professionals still have, and this is quite popular amongst developers, right? They still do have this notion that, oh, the bubble is still going to burst. We're going to get to a saturation point where the model continues to churn out things um, that are not as novel as what humans can do, right? Um, but the truth and the honest truth, from my own observation, is this: AI is really going nowhere, and it's going to change a lot, right? And when I mean a lot, it's going to change the way we work. It's going to change, first of all, it's going to change the way we work, right? Which it's already doing that. It's going to change the way we see things, right? It's going to stab our emotions, not a bit, but by a lot. And it's going to require, a lot of rethinking, relearning, right? So, from a developer's perspective, right, I myself started using the likes of Copilot before. I saw a lot of good stuff. Copilot did quite a lot of great things. I think recently they fumbled with the pricing, right? It's not so much of a good deal recently. And currently I'm using Codex, right, which does a lot of work. I know there are so many high-end models that are out there. Claude is there, um, and so many other models, right? You could even host yours. But then for me, at my own level, I found out that Codex was, it's quite sustainable, and it was useful for me, right? Because I typically don't have the habit of just saying a sentence to the model and expecting it to do the whole job, right? So for a lot of developers, like I mentioned, right, we get this we get this statement, right, that, oh, it's going to change the way your job is. Just try to upskill, um, try to adapt, try to incorporate AI into your work, right? But like I used to tell a lot of people, right, the work that developers and a lot of people who are into core tech do, right, it's not just, it's somehow, in a way, comparable to what your surgeons do, right? What people in some very critical fields, right? What they do. And when I'm saying some surgeons do, I'm not saying the risk, right? Because one is the risk of life. The other is also actually very risky, depending on what sector, what kind of solution you're building, right? It's also can also be very risky, right? Um, but then for a lot of individuals who came into tech, some came into tech because of the money. That's one. So you come into tech because of the money. I don't know how it's going to feel for you at the moment, right? But for a lot of people who came into tech because of the passion, um, the logical work it took, or it takes rather, to bring something to life, right? The thinking, the rethinking, the strategizing, and whatnot, right? Because for a lot of tech guys, they find pride in doing this work, writing something that's writing code, right? Writing very clean code, right? That's another level. They've been able to find this, should I say, religion, if I'll put it that way, right? They like to see code sparkling clean, rather, right? So, but right now at the moment, um, I'm sorry to put it to you, and I'm sorry to put it to my own self also, right? It's over, right? It's over. So if you got into tech because of that, and you feel at some point in time now with AI, there's going to be a point in time when the bubble is going to burst and all of that, right? I'm sorry to put it to you, but it's not just going to burst. But even if it bursts, right, we've seen what it's capable of, right? If it doesn't go so far, it reaches a saturation point, where the entire begins to decline, right? I also share the same perspective that it's going to actually, decline at some point, right? But for what it currently can do, right, dealing with the current reality, it's just going nowhere. So, back in the days, want to write code, you want to think about a problem. Um, you typically maybe take a walk around, think about it, come back, sit down, jot, write stuff, pseudocode, all of the joy, right? Um, for me personally, I've had quite a lot of individuals who, got to tech because of this, right? Um, and also for some people because they wanted to avoid the human interaction, right? They wanted to speak with something that they wanted to speak with something that wasn't going to they weren't going to have back and forth with. But right now, it's just over. So I would explain. Right now, you don't need to go through the whole stress of saying you want to write hundreds of lines of code anymore, right? It's simple. You just give a statement and then boom, it does it, right? You don't need to scourge through multiple files, multiple folders, digging deep through multiple links and all of that. No, you don't need that anymore, right? So for a lot of the hype, a lot of the recommendations you hear out there, they will tell you, oh, you need to upskill, you need to learn how to use AI in your work and all of that, right? I mean, the damage is being felt for a lot of people at the moment. There are layoffs, right? Of course, which is the effect, right? You no longer need to maintain a team of 10 anymore. With two or three, and then some very good models, you do what you need to do, right? But then when people say, oh, you need to upskill, I personally don't think it's just upskilling, right? But I think it's about coming to truth and detaching your emotions from your work, right? And when I say detaching your emotions from your work, a lot of developers do really have, and it's not just for a lot of professionals do have emotions tied to their work, right? They have really deep emotions, admirations for what they do. Let it be sparkling clean, like I said. Um, Follow some kind of religiosity, ensure that the code you're not repeating things, you're following CQRS and all of those terminologies, anyways. But right now it's just not needed anymore, right? It's just not needed anymore. And I think the main advice, right, I'd give to anyone is, first of all, detach your emotions from, if you were that kind of person who, I'm not saying you should not love your work or don't love your job anymore, right? But as reality stands at the moment, it's very important that you detach your emotions from um, whatever work, right, it is that you're doing, right? At least to some good levels, so you don't get heartbroken. So, and again, this is one of those things that this is going to be a very lengthy video, anyways. But apologies. This is one of those things that's one of the fields that software developers, product people, or product teams, managers. This is one of those fields that they have with software developers being in their head so much, right? Not just software developers, but anyone who's involved in, say, some core development work, right? Um, where you are unable to speak with you because you're unable to translate some things to them, right? Or the product guys on the other end are really unable to even make some kind of translations to help you at your work, right? It goes both ways in many cases, right? This is one of those things that we've seen over the years, right? And it's just been like that, right? It's just been like that. But now, right, like I mentioned, the realization, it's really the best. This moment, right, this time for a lot of individuals is really the best moment for you to pivot completely. It's a very serious and difficult thing to actually do, right? But this is just the right time for a lot of individuals or professionals to just pivot. So if you, when I'm saying pivot, if you know you like, taking up the whole brunt work of writing software, all of that, I think you just scrap that, right? You need to be in front of the customers now, right? This is the right time for you to be in front of the customers. Because really there's nothing to lose right at the moment. Again, aside the whole downside, the downsizing, the tragic effect of what AI is really causing all of that, right? I think for anyone who wants to still be optimistic, I think you just need to close out your mind and pivot. I'm saying pivot, learn to be in front of the customers, learn to develop use cases, right? Um, Learn to connect with people, learn to network with people. Go out of your way to spend some time with family, and do many other things that you could use your time to do. Because at the moment, right, um, a lot of these things can be done with models. Your work can be done with simple models, right? Again, this advice may not be so soothing for people who have lost their job because of this, right? But um, I am saying this because for so many folks, right, they've somewhat imagined a point in time when they would have to leave software, right? Because writing software in itself was never an easy task, right? It took so much mental work, right? And I mean, if this sounds like freedom to you, it's just the best thing you need to do, right? Just go ahead, do many other things that you love to do. So yeah, so I think this brings it to an end for what I wanted to say. Please, like, if this really resonates with you, please ensure you like, share, and also subscribe. It's going to do a lot for this channel, and I'm sure it's going to ensure that this message is spread to so many other individuals out there. Cheers, guys.